Stop scrolling. I'm about to show you 3 nickels that shocked collectors at auction, and they don't even look special. No shine, no perfect condition, just ordinary coins with silent fortune hiding inside them. These are war nickels, coins people ignore, toss aside, or spend without thinking. And that's exactly why they're so dangerous. Because what looks like pocket change could actually be serious money. Nobody talks about these, but collectors are quietly competing for them right now. So before you lose one without realizing it, check your coins carefully. Each one I reveal gets rarer and more valuable, and the last one, most people never see it coming. Stay with me, because what comes next, most people miss. Coin number 1. You've seen this coin before. Maybe it was dull. Maybe it looked a little off. Maybe it had this strange yellowish tone with brown spots that made you think, yeah, this one's just worn out. And that, right there, is exactly how people lose a silent fortune. Because the 1,942p war nickel doesn't scream for attention. It hides. It blends in. It pretends to be worthless, while collectors quietly chase it like it's buried treasure. And if you've ever ignored a coin because it looked ugly, this might be the mistake that cost you everything. Let me pull you into 1942 for a second. The United States had just entered World War II. Everything changed. Factories, materials, priorities, even the coins in your pocket. Nickel metal, the same metal used in everyday 5-cent coins, suddenly became critical for war production. Tanks, armor, weapons. The government needed it all. So what did they do? They changed the coin. Right in the middle of the year, without warning to everyday Americans, the US Mint began producing a completely different version of the nickel. Same size, same design, but the inside completely transformed. And that's where this coin begins its story. This isn't just a nickel, it's a wartime compromise, a piece of national pressure frozen in metal. The 1942p war nickel was the first US coin ever to carry a large P mint mark, Philadelphia, stamped boldly above Monticello on the reverse. That alone shocked collectors at the time, because Philadelphia coins didn't usually have mint marks. But this one did, and it wasn't subtle. Now flip the coin in your mind. On the front, you still see Thomas Jefferson, calm, steady, almost unaware of the chaos happening in the world when this coin was struck. The word liberty sits beside him along with the year 1942, but if you look closely, especially on circulated examples, you'll notice softness in the details. The hair, the cheekbone, the jawline. That's not just wear, that's history pressing down on the coin. Turn it over. Monticello stands there, but something feels different. Above it, larger than usual, is that P mint mark. That's your signal. That's your trigger. That's the detail most people miss. And if you miss it, you might spend a coin that collectors are hunting aggressively. Now let's talk about what's inside this coin, because this is where things get even more interesting. This is not your typical nickel composition. Instead of the usual copper and nickel blend, this coin was struck using 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. Yes, silver. That's why some of these coins develop that strange yellowish or even slightly golden tone over time. It's not dirt. It's not damage. It's chemistry, reacting slowly over decades. And those brown dots? That's natural toning, oxidation, age, telling its story. And here's the twist. Collectors don't hate that look. They crave it. Because original surfaces, untouched, uncleaned, carry authenticity. They prove the coin hasn't been messed with, that it survived exactly as it was. And survival, that's everything. Think about how many of these coins were used during wartime, passed through hands, dropped into machines, scratched, rubbed, forgotten. Millions were melted later for their silver content. Others were lost completely. So when a 1942p war nickel shows up today, especially in almost fine condition with original toning, it's not just a coin. It's a survivor. Now let's talk about something most people completely ignore. How it feels. If you hold one of these, it weighs exactly 5 grams. Same as a normal nickel. About 21.2 millimeters in diameter. Roughly 1.95 millimeters thick. The edge is smooth, no ridges, nothing flashy. And that's the danger, because physically, it feels ordinary. But mentally, to a collector, it's not ordinary at all. It's tension, it's history, it's opportunity. And here's where things get serious. Coins like this, especially with that distinctive yellowish tone and natural brown spotting, have been quietly climbing in value. Not because of hype, not because of trends, but because collectors are holding them. They're not selling. They're locking them away, waiting, watching the market tighten. And when one finally shows up at auction, it's not loud, it's not chaotic. It's quiet, controlled, but aggressive. Bidders don't joke around with coins like this. They know what they're looking at. They understand how few original pieces remain and how many have already been destroyed by cleaning, polishing, or careless handling. Let me be very clear here. Do not spend this coin, not even by accident. And whatever you do, never clean it. I don't care if it looks dark, spotted, uneven. That surface is everything. The moment you clean it, even slightly, you erase history. You strip away the very thing collectors are paying for. And once that's gone, it's gone forever. This is why professional grading becomes critical. A certified coin, authenticated, preserved, protected, that's what serious buyers want. That's what drives real money. Because without verification, you're guessing. With it, you're holding power. Now here's what most people miss. They look at condition and think perfect or worthless. That's wrong. Even in almost fine condition, this coin can carry serious money if the originality is intact. If the toning is natural. If the surfaces haven't been tampered with. This is where patience creates wealth. You don't rush to sell. You don't rush to clean. You study it. You protect it. You understand what you have. Because hidden inside that average-looking coin is something much bigger. A silent fortune. A piece of wartime America. A life-changing opportunity that slipped through millions of hands, but didn't stop with yours. And if you're still watching right now, good. Because what comes next is even more dangerous to ignore. The next coin isn't just rare. It's the kind of coin collectors lose sleep over. Next up, you know that one coin? The darker one? The one that almost looks burned? Yeah, that's the one people throw away first. And that mistake? That's how silent fortunes disappear. Because the 1944S war nickel doesn't shine. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't beg for attention. It sits there with this deep black and brown shade, almost like it's been forgotten on purpose. And that's exactly why people spend it without a second thought. But collectors, they don't ignore coins like this. They hunt them relentlessly. And if you've ever passed over a coin because it looked too dark, too dirty, too used, then you need to hear this, because what you're about to learn might completely change how you see every nickel you touch. Let's go back to 1944. The world was deep in World War II. This wasn't the beginning anymore. This was the pressure point. Resources were stretched thin. Every ounce of metal mattered. The United States wasn't just fighting overseas. It was fighting to maintain supply, production, and survival at home. And that pressure? It shows up in this coin. By 1944, the US Mint had fully committed to producing war nickels using that emergency composition: 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. But here's what most people don't realize. San Francisco, the S Mint, was under intense demand. Coins had to be produced fast, efficiently, constantly. There was no time for perfection. Dies wore down faster. Strikes became inconsistent. Surfaces reacted differently over time. And that's why this coin looks the way it does. That deep black and brown shading you see? That's not damage. That's survival. That's decades of chemical interaction. Silver reacting, manganese aging, copper shifting beneath the surface. It creates this almost smoky, shadowed appearance that most people mistake for something bad. But collectors, they see originality, they see untouched history, and they know once that surface is gone, it can never be replaced. Now picture the coin in your hand. On the front, Thomas Jefferson again. But this time, in very clear condition, his features still hold strength. The hair detail, the eye, the structure of the face, it's all there, just softened enough to prove it's lived a life. The word liberty sits beside him, along with the year 1944, a year heavy with global tension. This wasn't just another date. This was the year of D-Day. The year momentum shifted. The year everything started leaning toward an ending, but at a cost. And this coin, it was right there in the middle of it. Flip it over. Monticello stands firm, but your eyes should go straight to one thing. That S-Mint mark, large, bold, sitting above the building like a signal. That's your confirmation. That's your trigger. Because without that S, this is just another coin. But with it, it becomes something collectors pay serious attention to. Now let's talk about something most people never think about. The feel. This coin weighs 5 grams. Same as any other nickel. Around 21.2 millimeters in diameter. About 1.95 millimeters thick. Smooth edge. Nothing flashy. It doesn't feel valuable. It doesn't feel rare. And that's the trap. Because everything about this coin is designed to be overlooked. But the moment you understand what it is, you can't unsee it. Now here's where things get intense. Coins like this, 1944S, war nickels with deep original toning and very clear detail are becoming harder to find every year. Because people destroy them. They clean them. They polish them. They try to fix what they think is damage, and in doing so, they erase the very thing that gives the coin its identity. Let me say this clearly. Never clean this coin. Not with water. Not with cloth. Not with anything. That black and brown surface, that's not a flaw. That's the fingerprint of time. Collectors want that. They trust that. And the second it's gone, so is a huge portion of the value. This is why professional grading matters so much. Because once a coin is certified, sealed, protected, verified, it enters a completely different world. A world where serious collectors compete quietly, strategically, sometimes aggressively. And that's exactly what's happening with coins like this. The demand, rising. The supply, shrinking. Because smart collectors aren't selling. They're holding. They understand something most people don't. This isn't just a coin. It's a limited survivor from a moment in history that can never be recreated. And when one of these shows up in auction, especially with strong detail and original toning, things get quiet, but intense. Bidders don't waste time. They don't hesitate. They move fast because they know another one like it might not show up for a long time. And when it's gone, it's gone. Now let's talk about what this actually means for you. Because this isn't about collectors anymore. This is about what might be sitting in your house, your drawer, your pocket, right now. A coin you almost ignored. A coin you almost spent. A coin that could carry hidden wealth. Silent fortune. Real money that most people will never recognize. And here's the part that changes everything. Today's market has seen examples of this exact type of coin. 1944S war nickel, very clear condition, original dark toning, reach around $153,000 at auction. Let that sink in. Not because it's perfect, not because it's shiny, but because it survived exactly as it is. That's what people are paying for. That's what you might be holding. So before you do anything else, check your coins. Look for that S above Monticello. Pay attention to the color, the tone, the surface. And if you find one like this, do not spend this coin. Protect it. Preserve it. Get it professionally graded. Because this isn't something you rush. This is something you understand. And then move carefully. Because one wrong move, one cleaning, one careless transaction, and that silent fortune disappears. This is not fiction. This is happening every single day. People are losing coins like this without even realizing it. But if you're still here, if you've made it this far, then you're already ahead of most people. And what comes next? It makes this coin look easy to find. The next war nickel is on a completely different level. Rarer, more intense, and far more dangerous to ignore. Next up, there's a coin that people almost instantly reject. Not because it's fake, not because it's broken, but because it looks strange. Uneven color, yellow layers spreading across the surface. Details that aren't perfectly sharp. It feels like something's off, like it doesn't belong. And that exact reaction, that's how people accidentally throw away a hidden fortune. Because the 1945S war nickel doesn't look like something valuable. It looks confusing. It looks inconsistent. And that confusion causes hesitation. And hesitation leads to spending it like it's nothing. But collectors, they don't hesitate. They lock in. Because they know something most people don't. This coin represents the end of something massive. The final chapter of World War II. Everything was shifting. The war was closing. Production pressure was still high, but now mixed with transition. Factories were preparing to return to peacetime. Materials were still controlled, but change was coming fast. And in the middle of all that uncertainty, this coin was struck. The San Francisco Mint, marked with that bold S, was still producing war nickels using the emergency silver alloy. 35% silver, 56% copper, 9% manganese. Same wartime formula, but under completely different emotional and economic conditions. Because now, it wasn't just about survival. It was about finishing. And that energy, it's inside this coin. Now here's where things get strange and powerful. That yellow layered appearance you see on some 1945S war nickels, that's not random. That's not damage. That's time interacting with metal in a very specific way. Silver, copper, and manganese don't age evenly. Over decades, they react differently to air, moisture, handling, even storage conditions. And what you get is this layered effect, almost like the coin is revealing its history in slow motion. Some areas shift toward gold-like tones. Others darken. Some stay dull. And when the details are slightly unclear, fine condition, not perfect, it actually adds to the story. Because this coin wasn't preserved in a vault. It lived. It circulated. It survived. And survival like that, it's rare. Let's slow down and really look at it. On the obverse, Thomas Jefferson is still there. But this time, his features may feel softer. The hairlines aren't razor sharp. The cheek has wear. The edges of the design aren't crisp, but that's not weakness. That's proof. Proof that this coin moved through hands during one of the most intense periods in modern history. The word liberty is still visible. The year 1945 stands firm. A year that changed everything globally. Now flip it. Monticello appears again, steady, structured. But your focus should immediately jump to that large S mint mark above it. That's your signal. That's what separates this coin from millions of others. Because without that S, you might miss it completely. And most people do. Now here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. The physical reality of this coin. It weighs 5 grams, about 21.2 millimeters across, roughly 1.95 millimeters thick, smooth edge, balanced, familiar. It feels like every other nickel. And that's the danger. Because there's no warning, no sign that you're holding something collectors would fight over. Now imagine this, a handful of change, mixed coins. You see one with a weird yellow tone, slightly unclear details, and you think, this one's not great. So you spend it. Gone. Just like that. And you never realize what you just lost. Because coins like this aren't obvious. They're quiet. They carry silent fortune. Now let's talk about why collectors are obsessed with this specific type. It's not just the year. It's not just the mint mark. It's the combination. 1945, end of war. San Francisco Mint, high-pressure production. Silver alloy, unique composition. And then, original layered toning with natural wear. That combination creates something very specific. Something that cannot be recreated. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The more people try to fix these coins, the rarer true examples become. Because they clean them. They scrub them. They try to make them shiny again. And in doing that, they destroy the layers. The color, the authenticity. Let me be direct with you. Never clean this coin. Not ever. Those yellow layers, that uneven surface, that's the value. That's what collectors trust. The moment you remove it, you turn something special into something ordinary. And once that happens, there's no going back. This is why professional grading becomes so important. Because once a coin like this is authenticated, sealed in its original state, it becomes part of a completely different market. A serious market, where buyers understand exactly what they're looking at, where they don't hesitate, where they compete, quietly but aggressively. And here's what's happening right now. Collectors are holding on to these. They're not flooding the market. They're waiting, because they know supply is shrinking. Every cleaned coin, every lost coin, every spent coin makes the remaining ones more powerful, more valuable, more desired. And when one of these shows up in auction, it doesn't explode with noise. It tightens. It becomes focused. Because everyone in that room knows this is not easy to replace. This is not something you casually find again. And today, coins exactly like this, 1945S war nickel, yellow layered toning, fine condition, have reached around $147,000 in the market. Let that sit with you for a second. A coin people ignore. A coin people spend. A coin that doesn't even look perfect. Holding that kind of value. That's not normal. That's hidden wealth. That's a silent fortune sitting in plain sight. So here's what you need to do. Check your coins. Slow down. Look for that S mint mark above Monticello. Pay attention to the color, especially those yellow layers. Don't judge it by shine. Don't judge it by perfection. Because this detail, this exact detail, changes everything. And if you find one like this, do not spend this coin. Protect it. Keep it exactly as it is, and take the time to get it professionally evaluated. Because patience here isn't optional. It's the difference between losing it and realizing what you're actually holding. This is not fiction. People are losing coins like this every single day. But now, you're not one of them.